Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me. We're going to be doing some demonstrations here on automated trading systems, and glad you could make it. So we're going to cover a lot of material, and in the meantime, if you have questions and comments, of course, you can enter those in the chat. And other than that, let's get the show on the road. Thanks for joining us here. We're going to look at automated algo systems. We can look at track records. We can filter to meet your criteria, multiple market sectors, look at intraday and swing trading, look at top 10 performers over different time frames. We'll look how to go live or deactivate a system in one click. And along with all that, we're real people and we're always here to help as well. So we're going to look at using 4 steps really to use these systems. You explore and choose the systems you're looking for. You would then subscribe and activate the system and then monitor performance. And it's just that simple. So a live demo, trading solutions built from experience and decades of input from development and industry veterans. And it's really a new approach. We call it automated intelligence. And one-click automation to turn systems off or on. And you can look at I think there's over 2,000 different systems to look at and filter across global markets and automated risk and profit controls along the way. So definitely something new. And what we're trying to do here is you want to avoid this little guy here in the cartoon struggling with order placement, forgetting what his orders are doing, watching the screens all day. We want to try to automate and use technology and do a lot of that heavy lifting for us. So do look at the risk disclosure. It is important. I'll leave this up here for just a brief moment. Take a screenshot if you'd like to read the entire thing on your own. But really the key thing is always use risk capital when trading, and past performance is never a guarantee of future results. And there's always risk of loss when trading. A little bit about Altivest. We've been doing this since 1997 as a registered introducing brokerage firm. We've developed proprietary trading technology along the way, traded millions of futures and options contracts, and we're regulated. We're registered with the CFTC. We're members of the NFA. We're located here in California. My name is Eric Gebhardt. I have a business degree in, well, I guess the emphasis was finance, but BS Administration in University of Southern California, co-founder of Altivest. I've had multiple securities licenses over the years, Series 6, 63, insurance, so forth. That's all mutual funds and annuities, investment companies, and currently have my Series 3 for commodity futures, and also something known as the Series 65 for investment advisors. Okay, and maybe you've seen us before on other presentations. We try to do a lot of webinars, but even do live events. This was just in the summer here in Miami, so that was a lot of fun. And we often get quoted in the financial press. Here's something from MarketWatch just the other week asking us about our thoughts on the economy and the oil market and the gold market. So the referencing here, futures brokerage at Altivest. I think my partner Mike actually gave them some good content there. But let's jump into the presentation, how can we all relate to these trading barriers? And really this is based on feedback we've received from multiple clients over the years. And I think if you follow along here, you're going to think, well, yeah, that's me. So how about number 1? Information overload, lots of noise, conflicting targets, opinions, narratives, really clickbait headlines. And how about tweets? This kind of made me laugh. So here's how trading and investing used to be, studying the charts and the fundamentals of a company. And now you're kind of doom scrolling on X and social media and whatever else for the latest headline. So we want to try to avoid that. And that information overload can hinder our decision-making trading. You don't want to end up like this poor guy here with his head in his hands there. So you end up with analysis paralysis and you don't really know what's important and what isn't. And maybe you can overdo it. According to my calculations, the stock market will fluctuate today. So I think that's a pretty, I don't know. I think that reflects some of our feelings along the way. We've all had that feeling where maybe things are just too complicated, too much information. You can end up drinking from the fire hose, so to speak. So we're going to try to help you avoid that pitfall. How about time? Who has all the time and the discipline needed to screen watch? This is how people envision themselves. This is a, I don't know, a good image. And this guy here, he's managing his $180 portfolio with this setup here. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, so that's great. Some people can make it work. We have people over the years and people with us that are successfully day trading, but really it's a full-time thing too. So, you're sitting from the market open until the close. Once in a while after market hours, this is just a social media post I pulled down. People talking about day trading. People are spending 10 hours a day trading, 4 to 5 hours actively trading. So again, if it's making you an enormous amount of money, then it's worth it. But really, it's not that easy for most of us. It's not that practical. So we're going to here to show you a way how you can stop watching your day trades. You don't want to end up like this uh, poor creature here. So we're going to try to avoid that. You don't want to do that. And really, it's not that easy. As I referred to, only 5% of day traders make money, according to a recent article on MarketWatch. But a lot of studies are showing maybe even less than that. If you look around, and of course, how do you really define day trader and over what period of time and so forth? So, but nonetheless, it's really a difficult thing to do. And even if you're making money at it, um, keep in mind it's something you have to be perfect with. If you're actually placing trades on your own, you pick the correct market, the correct direction, apply the correct strategy at the right time, and more importantly, you exit at the right time. So really, it's a lot of info to sort through. This guy here is complaining about too much info. And is it really worth your time? If you are making money, is it enough money to make it worthwhile? Does it make economic sense? So those are really just something to consider when people talk about day trading. Of course, you hear these big success stories, but you don't really hear as much about the failures. But how about the third barrier? Emotions, just us. We've become our own worst enemy. We're humans, and fear and greed takes over. Remember, markets are always correct. We aren't. It's expensive convincing the markets you are right, from a system trading pioneer, Ed Sequoia, book out of Market Wizards over, oh gosh, that's got to be 25 years old now. I remember reading that years ago. And you end up riding that emotional roller coaster where as you're making money, you feel pretty good about yourself and you're euphoric and you're thinking you're pretty smart, and things start to go the wrong way and they go south. You raise the white flag of surrender and you kind of panic. And then you kind of get back on that upslope again sometimes and kind of hop on and off that roller coaster. So we want to try to avoid that and control our emotions. So the way we're going to do that here is we're going to talk to you about systematic trading with no emotions. And remember, systematic trading, algo trading, machine trading, machine learning, AI, whatever phrase you want to use, it's really dominating the marketplace. 90% of the stock market, U.S. equity volume, is systematic trading, according to J.P. Morgan, and that was 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm sure that number is just as strong, if not a little higher. And meanwhile, it's showing here that some of these articles I picked up on, and this is from a few years back, but I don't think it's really changed. Robots are outwitting humans on their investment picks. If you want to read that article, you certainly could. But I think we get the idea. It's a competitive landscape, and you're not competing with really the person, sitting on another computer across the country. You're competing with machines. So if you're not using automation, we think you're doing it wrong. That revolutionary trading. So, I think a lot of us have been in this position here, hunched over and looking and staring at our screens. But let's use some technology to help us along the way. Remember, this is our competition. It's running with no emotion, automated entry and exit and risk controls, profit controls as well. So how do we use algorithms to compete? So we're going to try to, as the phrase goes, if you can't beat them, we're going to try to join them. We've got a solution for you for automated systems trading. We think it's user friendly for novice or advanced traders. You can filter for risk and reward parameters and lots of other criteria as well. Only 4 steps to activate any system. Again, you explore, you subscribe, you activate it, and then you monitor and then the trades are automatically placed for you. So you can use intraday or swing trading, whether the markets are up or down. You're looking at markets across the globe in multiple sectors. And then we're going to show you how to get involved if you like what you see. So we're going to meet the traders of what we call AV systems. So it's time for the demo, and let me do this here. Let me switch screens here. Okay. All right. We are now looking at the AV systems dashboard, and I'll walk you through here what this all means. But really, we're going to explore. We're going to learn how to subscribe and learn how to activate a system and then how to monitor the performance. And this is a demo account that I use for these presentations. But of course, if you were using this and it was your account, then it would just be, your own login credentials, and everything else would look the same. And you'll notice some menu items up here, and we're going to look at that in just a second. But before we do, why don't I show you this table first of all. You can see we're looking at one of 25 systems on this page here, and you can choose how many systems you want to see on any one page. But let's leave it at 25, but that's out of over 2,000 systems, 2,121 to be exact. And this table here can all be customized too. So right now, well, let me just back up. You're looking at the name of the system, the market trading. There's a ranking for the system, the type of system, if it's intraday or swing trading, the name of the developer, the start date, the winning sessions, the annual ROI, worst drawdown, required capital, so forth. You can filter or sort, like say your annual ROI figure or your worst drawdown figure, ascending or descending. Some pretty big numbers here, but of course that also means there's bigger risk. So keep that in mind. But you can filter or sort, I should say, based on ascending or descending, but also you can customize the table as to what's in there. So maybe you're not so interested in these elements here, but perhaps you're looking at dates for where it's tracked or dates for the live P&L or whatever it might be. And then you just go, okay. And then you can see what you've chosen here in your table, your custom table shows up, and then you can go back to the default settings here. So that's kind of a nice way to give it the look that you want. And from that, what you might want to do next is filter. So this is really a great tool. So you'll notice here, there are some quick filters. Maybe you want to look at the ones that you've archived as your favorites that are stars. And the way you would do that is you can just click on any one of them and it turns from gray to gold. So now that becomes a favorite of yours. Or you can look at tracked systems for more than a year and that's profitable, or maybe that has clients and required capital less than 5,000, or the worst drawdown less than 10,000, and so forth. So those are quick filters. So maybe we'll go ahead and choose this one here, and we'll choose this one here, and we'll click OK. And now you've narrowed it down to a pool or a universe of 19 systems that meet those criteria. So it makes it much more manageable. You don't have to look at 2,100 different systems. The way to really get through this is to use these filtering tools. Or you can go back, clear all the filters, and maybe you want to go ahead and get more granular. So you can use a filter for an annual ROI number, maybe something like that. You could add that, click OK. Let's see what else. Here's one. Why don't we look at intraday systems? So these are going to be flat by the end of the day. So we'll add intraday systems. So now you're down to 980. And I know what we can do. Why don't we do this? Look at the market being traded. So you can see all the different markets here, the pound, the E-mini S&P 500. This is lean hogs, the NASDAQ, Swiss franc, the Dow. You've got crude oil, copper, natural gas, platinum, silver, bond market, soybean, corn, wheat. I believe there's gold, currency, Swiss franc, euro currency. So you can see these are markets not just related to the US. Some of them are, global, as we mentioned, but there's a list here if you want to see them all at once. But why don't we look at day trading, remember intraday systems on the E-mini S&P 500. We'll add that. So you can see that's another filter here. So now you're down to 170, and just kind of making this up as we go. How about the rating here? Yeah, so 3 stars or higher. That's already in there. And then we'll just click OK. So now you have 170 systems that meet the criteria that we have filtered for right here. In fact, what you could do is edit this, and maybe you're looking for, I don't know, a bigger number. See if that makes a difference. Added one extra, but you get the idea. So it's really a matter of being able to filter for anything here. If you're not familiar with some of these phrases and all, there's a glossary, and it explains all that too. But maybe one other thing. How about this? Why don't we look at a requirement for suggested capital? And I'll explain how that works. Anywhere from, let's say, no more than 50,000. See what we get there. Yeah, okay, so now you're down to 41, a little more manageable. And we'll go ahead and just for kicks look at this one here, and you'll see here this is the E-mini S&P 500 system. It's intraday. And well, actually, why don't we look at this one here? This is another E-mini S&P 500 system, so it's intraday, and this is the name of the developer, and it started back in 2007. It's being tracked since 2021, and I'll explain this a little more. You can see the total profit and loss since it's been tracked, percentage of winning sessions, your profit factor, annual ROI, and your worst drawdown, suggested capital. But let's see what this one looks like. So you click on that. Oops. Just a second here, folks. There we go. That was my error. Okay, so you can see this is the historical performance of this particular system. And it's been back tested. I'll explain how this works. The white background means this is all back tested data. Anything with the white background all the way back to 2007. This sort of tan colored background means that's when the system became available on the platform, and iSystems here, the AV Systems platform, was tracking it. So that was back here starting in 2021. And then live trading. So this is real money live trading. You can see it had some live trading occurring here in June. And then let me show you some of the, well, you can read the description if the developer provides it, but there's not one here. But you can see the number of sessions here, total profit and loss, annualized return on investment. You can see the details there. We've got the profit factor here. It's a ratio between profits and losses, essentially. Commissions, and you can see the percentage of winning sessions and so on. Your best session here, 9,262. The worst session, 1,300. And percentage of time with an open position, only 10%. So even though it's a day trading system, it says here intraday, it's not very active is what that's telling you. And then this is your worst drawdown here. So your worst session on the day, $1,300 versus the best session, and so on and so forth. But you'll notice here the name of the developer. This is the product that's being traded intraday. And here's the cost. It's $50 per month. That's the developer fee, and that comes directly out of your account. And also, I should point out that all of the performance data here, all of the dollar figures and percentage figures are net of the developer fee and commission. So everything is net after cost to you. And that's just all deducted from your account. And so, yeah, this is just kind of an example how you can just pull up a graph and you're here, you're looking at all of the history, or you could just look at last year or any time frame you want. But this is all of the history on this particular system. Now, let me point out something here. If you want to get really detailed, you can see here, here's for the month of August. So far, there hasn't been a whole lot of activity, just one day here of profit. And then whoops, excuse me. And then at the same time, the license fee was deducted from the account. So that's the profit on the trade, and that's the total P&L so far. Let's see here. You can see a little more activity last month in July. You can notice, you have some losing streaks here, but then you have a nice big winner and another big winner here. So you may have streaks of losing positions and losing trades. What's new, right? That's how it works with trading. But you can get really granular is really what I'm pointing out. Everything is transparent. There's nothing hidden from you. You get to see all the activity as it's occurring. And again, so you see starting off, the license fee comes out of the account, losing trade, and a nice big winner, and a loser, and a nice big, winner here. So this is a pretty interesting little system here. It's not that active, and I'll explain something here. This is the suggested capital and required capital. All of the numbers here, all of the performance numbers are based off the suggested $50,000 capital amount. And that just takes into account, your worst drawdowns, historically speaking, and taking into account the margin requirements for, this type of trading. So it's basically telling you that if you want to maintain this system, the suggested amount here is 50,000. Although you could, at a bare minimum, use 14,400. It just means that's more leverage. So again, if you're using the $50,000 suggested capital and all the numbers are based off of that $50,000 figure, if you lower the capital requirement, down to say 15,000, then these numbers here are going to be dramatically impacted, 4 times uh, versus what they are now, because you're just using 4 times the amount of leverage. So for better or worse. So you may have some big wins and big losers if you're only using the required capital versus suggested capital. So hopefully that kind of helps that. And then also there's a trade log. So you can see here all the trades. Um, Here's the last one here, August 3rd. It was selling. So the -1 means going short. And then at the end of the day, it is flat. That's what that means, because it's an intraday system. So it's never going to hold a position, over the weekend. And you can look at the session log here. So day by day, you can see the trade volume of 2, into the day position 0, which is flat. The pricing, your best, your worst, your P&L on the day. It always takes into account slippage as well. And then of course, back to the monthly P&L. So a lot of detailed information in here. So I can close that one out. And what I could do here now is we'll go back and show you. There's also a top 10 list. So you can see the current session here. Right now, this is basically live trading. So right now you have these 2 NASDAQ day trading systems here that are at the top for the day, making looks like $5,000 here. Currently long from 29,937, and it has a stop loss order here. And this one's flat. And you can see here's a gold system, E-mini S&P, Euro currency, and here's a Bund, German Bund, and then more Euro. And then here's the best performer yesterday was a silver. Here, let's look at that. So you can see here, yeah, August, it's having a big month, 24,000. But it also had some big losers earlier in the year, 14,000 in one month, 13,000 in another month, but then a big winner in January, 49,000. So those are some big numbers. But anyway, that's how you look at and drill down into any particular system. I just happened to look at the silver. I was kind of curious about it. But why don't we go ahead and look at this one here with a little more depth. Okay, so this here, and I just kind of pulled this up from the top 10 list. This is all the history going back to 2011, and you can see here. So it's had a lot of live trading, and it's been tracked here as well on the platform for quite a while too. And you can see the trade log. So you can see again all of the details as to what the algorithm is doing, and this is all being traded on your behalf. If you were to subscribe to this system, this would all be happening, automatically. Okay, and here's how you could begin to actually activate this system. So you see it says not active. So you could click on this here and you would buy the license. It's $60 a month that you would pay to the developer. One unit would be basically one contract. If you did 2 units, it'd be $60, 120. And we'll go ahead and do that. Your payment is every month, and we'll go ahead and just subscribe. You could do a flex license, $205 a month, and you could have up to 5 units. So they give you a little uh, quantity volume there, a break on price. But we'll go ahead and subscribe. Okay, so now let me pull this down. Here we go. So it's giving you a summary here of how to subscribe, and you read the disclosure, then you accept the terms and conditions, you hit accept. So now you've subscribed, you've purchased the license. Now what your next step is to activate it. So you click activate, and it's summarizing everything. The current position is long from 29,937. And the multiplier would be how many contracts are you trading. And now this is immediate activation, or you could say I want to exit at or better than the entry price, which may not occur. Or you could say you want to just take the next trade entry, or you could say I want to get into this position on the next session. You don't want to start today for whatever reason. But we'll just go immediate activation. And you read, of course, the disclosure there and disclaimer and the terms and conditions and activate. And let's show you what happens. So it's been activated. It's currently long. The strategy will be synced to this open position. So we'll click OK. And then it takes you to My Systems. Let me just close this so you can get that right from the home page, My Systems. And here's the one we just activated right here. And you can see here, it's currently, since we just pressed activate, it's making $87.50. So, and you can see the closest order here. Let's drill down on that. It has a sell stop here to sell one at this price, 30,093.5. Also has a profit taking order at 3609 and a quarter. So much above where we are now. And it's showing you the fill prices here for today on your active systems. I'll go back and just kind of show you here. So this is the one we just did. And then these were a couple here that I just had from this morning. I just put in here just to have something to show for the demo, but they don't have any active positions yet. And then also here's a Euro FX, Eurex FX. I think it's the stock index, but it's short one contract, or I'm not the stock index. This is the currency, excuse me. And you can see it's short a contract, and it's not really doing much today at the moment. And that's the last trade right here, going short at this price here, 154.35. So pretty clever stuff here. A lot of just a lot of I guess you could say access to markets you would neverwise be involved with, and also the ability to have positions in these and have exposure to these types of trading strategies that are non-correlated to what might be happening, with traditional assets. So you can see on the day here, or really the total P&L so far, you can see it moving and flashing in real time. So yeah, this one here just keeps moving in the right direction in the last several minutes here. So interesting. But so that's what you would do to look at all of your current systems that are currently live and active. You just go under my systems and you can see at a glance here. You could do a filter for inactive systems, or the active systems, and then I just have all of them here right now. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, you can get very granular. You can see everything. It's not hidden from you. That's really cool. So, and again, these are the orders that are being placed for this particular strategy in the system right now. So you can see what's coming. You can, and these orders might move. The algo and the robots might move the orders around as prices move. So you're not in the dark. And you can see here your active licenses for any system, and then what the monthly cost is, and so forth. And then also, if you wanted to deactivate a system, let me show you how to do that. See this little crosshairs here. So you could view performance, you could change the multiplier, or you could stop the strategy, and you could stop it immediately or simply not trade at the next session. And you just go ahead and accept the disclaimer and deactivate. So it's just that simple if you want to deactivate it. But right now, these are all active and they stay active until you deactivate them. All right. And let me take a quick look at if there's anything else I wanted to review. Let me clear all these filters, go back kind of to the non-filtered. Let's see, here's the default. And so you'll notice on any particular one of these systems, you can just, this is a live system here, or if you wanted to unlock a system from the home page, from your dashboard, you could first of all, view the performance like this. Expand that. And you can also use this little padlock here to unlock the system. This happens to be platinum, it looks like. All right. So that is a brief overview of the AV Systems platform. Really, the bottom line is you can explore all these systems using the filters and the customizable table. Then if you find something that meets your criteria, you subscribe to it. You saw how to do that. You just simply click that button to subscribe, and then you would activate it however it suits you. Most people, I think, just take whatever um, the immediate activation, I should say. Um, it's already doing very well. Obviously, the Nasdaq is moving higher as we speak. So, if you wanted to say, I'm going to stop it, I've seen enough. Certainly, you could stop it immediately, and it would close the position out, and you just deactivate it. So you can do that, but you don't want to really. I guess you don't want to get too involved with trying to activate and deactivate these systems on an intraday basis. Like you don't want to stare at the screen and your systems all day, activating and deactivating, turning them off and turning them on. That sort of undermines the whole idea for what we're trying to do here. And you probably wouldn't want to do that anyway. So just because that's going to take time, time away from your daily life and routine, you're probably trying to avoid screen watching any day, or any way, and any day. All right, let's see here. If there's any other comments or questions along the way, send them in. But let me go ahead and switch gears one more time. Give me just a second, folks. Okay, so that's a really powerful tool. It's a very sophisticated technology to allow automated future systems trading at your fingertips. And you've got just those 4 easy steps to get started. So let me show you how to get involved. We call it our AV Systems membership. So you get the automated futures trading solution with all the systems as part of our membership. And just to summarize, 25 years of research and development, dozens of professional system developers and programmers, thousands of systems or bots, as you might call them, across US and global markets in multiple sectors. Completely transparent trading, as we kind of demonstrated. So you have full control to activate and deactivate, automation with risk and profit management, intraday or swing trading systems at your fingertips, and then you can review that live system performance as well. And you can also analyze your history. If you want to go pretty deep and granular, you can download all that to Excel. So really, to summarize, you've got global stock indices, currencies available, financials like the bond markets, precious metals, energy markets, grains. And if you're going to try to develop a system like that on your own, just one system, so you have to hire a programmer to build an algorithm for one market. And we've kind of done some of these calculations over the years. Just for one system, it's probably close to $11,000 based on market rates. And we know this because we've spent over the years millions of dollars working with developers on futures trading and forex trading and even options trading as well. So it's a costly and time consuming endeavor. And then one other thing too, if you are looking at how to filter for systems and what criteria that you think might be best for you, well, we're going to probably help you along the way there too, because remember, we're real people doing this. We're not robots, but we have something we call the A list, and we'll work with you. And you can see in this example, someone with an account, and they're allocating this certain amount to stock indexes, currencies, and metals, and we'll work with you on that. So keep in mind just that consultation and that full service attention, a value of over $2,900. So that's the private coaching that we do. We're all Series 3 licensed and experienced. And even for private coaching, I looked and asked AI and Chat GPT, how much does it cost? $5,000 to $15,000 for trading coaching. So we think to have a co-pilot with a licensed trader discuss your trading approach and history, I think that value of over $10,000 is probably a fair assessment. So again, the AV Systems platform value over $10,800 with our consulting on the A list and the private coaching, total value of over $23,000 for your AV Systems membership. But of course, that's not what we're offering this at. And we think it might help you in terms of it might be that one thing you've been looking for to save you a lot of time. You can cancel other subscriptions and save money that way, and maybe lower your stress and aggravation levels. This little guy says, "You betcha it is." And this is no joke. Others have paid tens of thousands of dollars for algo systems and software and private coaching. I used to talk with the people even years ago that were spending $25,000 on trading systems. So, and if you're doing that and it's working, I'm not trying to denigrate that. So if it's working for you, that's fine. But we're going to have a special offer for you. It's a live webinar here. So we're going to offer everything you need. Our AV Systems membership, the retail is $997, but we're going to do a heck of a lot, 50% discount. And we are limiting this for the first 12 members. Altivest.com. AVS. And I'll put that in the chat here. And then also you can use the QR code. Okay, so there we go. And that's my direct phone number as well. If you had any comments or questions or feedback, good, bad, or otherwise, that's fine. And there's a 30-day guarantee on that. So really, there's no excuse on that membership fee. If it's something you think you might want to be involved with, you would sign up. We'll get you a login credential, and then you can start using AV systems and sort of going through the process. And if it's something changed in your life and you decide it's not for you, then that's fine. Just let us know within 30 days and we'll just refund your membership. And then also there's a free membership available. So $100,000 or more in your account, you get a 100% rebate. And then if you have 50,000 up to 100,000, you get a 50% rebate. So people like to take us up on that offer. So now you're thinking, I want to get started, but I have some questions. So let's see if you have a couple questions. Then also I'm going to mention um, people are asking about using the system on a prop firm. Well, you use the system and you have an account with us. So if you're using AV systems, then we're the brokerage firm. And let's see what else. How do you know when to start the system so there is minimum drawdown? Well, that's a good question too. I suspect that there's really no answer for that. And in fact, I know I've talked with the developers and over a long enough period of time, whether or not you activate a system or not during a drawdown, it's hard to know what's better or not. But there is a philosophy that says if you want to be involved in the system, try to activate it when it's in a drawdown. And you know, perhaps you've avoided the worst of the drawdown by coming in kind of late to the game. But those are good questions and something we can talk with you about. But keep the questions coming, guys. And here's a few other comments I have here about questions or anticipated questions. Tax efficiency. So keep in mind that these are futures markets. So all futures are tax efficient. So they're 1256 contracts according to the IRS. And what that means, the tax efficiency advantage is 60% of the gains are taxed at the lower capital gains rate versus 40% at your personal income tax rate. So that's a big difference at the end of the year. If you've got some nice big profits, then that's a big savings in terms of your tax bill and your tax liability. And this is also convenient here. There's no itemizing. You'll receive a 1099 with your profit at the end of the year, and it's just one number, and that's all you need to use your file your taxes. So there's no uh, wash sales or anything like that with securities and itemizing and so forth. And you don't want to end up like this this guy. Uh, that's a good picture too. This guy here is the accountant going through all the trades, reporting a 37-cent profit. I thought that was kind of funny. But really, always consult your tax attorney or advisor on these tax matters. And another question we get is, what kind of account? Can I use a joint account or individual or a trust account? And yeah, the answer is yes to all the above, but also you can use a self-directed IRA. So absolutely, we work with Equity Trust. They've got, as of last year, 71 billion in assets under their custody and administration. So these are self-directed IRAs. You can use that to trade futures and AV systems. And if you let Equity Trust know that you're with Altivest, they will waive your setup fee. So that's a nice bonus. And then you can also trade futures and options without using automation. So people ask us that, well, I want to use the AV systems, but there's sometimes I want to place my own trade. Yeah, absolutely. We're full service. We can trade any commodity futures and options market. And in fact, we have a options trading technology with automation as well. But absolutely, we have clients that use automation for systems, and they let that sort of run on its own. And then meanwhile, they might be placing some of their own trades in with completely different strategies or options or what have you. So we can do all of the above. So remember, anything that's a commodity futures and options market, like anything you see here in the picture and beyond, we can trade it. And then ultimately, why should you be interested in something like this? Well, not everyone should be, I guess, but keep in mind that this is an alternative asset class when you're looking at futures, and especially if you're looking at an automated futures trading platform with systematic trading. So the performance can have a low correlation to traditional investments, and that may improve diversification and lower portfolio risk. So keep in mind the stock market doesn't always go up, although it's certainly at all-time highs as of late. But there could be lost decades here where, for example, that 60-40 portfolio, right? Everyone talks about 60% stocks and 40% bonds. But you see these gray shaded areas here are periods of time where that 60-40 mix actually doesn't work. So, those are some big windows of time there. So just keep that in mind. In fact, now, Bank of America is moving away from the 60-40. They're looking at commodities and gold and copper and energy and, some of the markets that you saw in iSystems, and even Morgan Stanley, so forth, JPM, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, all recommending, commodities and gold as well. So kind of divesting a bit from that 60-40. And here's another example. The red shaded lines are when that 60-40 portfolio fails. So you can see it plenty of times where you just don't want to be that passive, and having exposure to alternatives. For example, a lot of these systems, if you look at like a NASDAQ or E-mini S&P 500 or whatever day trading system in, say, July of this year, the stock market didn't do so well, but a lot of those systems thrive on that. And when the volatility increases, it's going to be able to go short or long. It doesn't matter. They're sort of agnostic as to direction oftentimes in those systems. There are some systems that will be, I haven't looked lately, but I have seen some that are perhaps like, long only, for example. But for the most part, if an intraday system is on there, you can see that it's going to be short or long uh, just as easily. Makes no difference to the system. So allocation to alternative investments, the automated futures approach. And again, these are non-correlated results. So it's not looking at what's happening in the bond market or the stock market in particular. So it can be zigging when everything else is zagging. You could be in soybeans or cattle or the euro or the crude oil market or gold or even a stock index, and it wouldn't matter necessarily. So that's what you call absolute routine, or sorry, absolute return and non-correlation. So we like the idea of, if you have a portfolio of investments, you've got this gray slice of alternatives, something like AV systems could be a part of that gray slice there. So here is the final here slide. I'll leave this up for a bit. Take a screenshot of that. You can pull up the QR code, and you can always reach out to me as well if you have any comments or questions along the way. And then people ask about what's the amount to start trading with. Again, that's really up to the systems that you have in mind to trade. Some of them, you're going to require maybe six figures, and others maybe 20,000 or something like that. So it just depends. We've had people all over the map with different size accounts, seven figures and so forth. So it's really a matter of what you have in mind as your goal, and what amount of risk capital you want to use as well. All right, let's see if there's any other comments or questions here. Let's see here. I don't see any new questions coming in unless I missed them. But that's okay, because you've got my number, my email, you've got the QR code to get yourself signed up and start using AV systems. And, it's a simple process. You sign up, become a member, then we onboard you just like you would with any other brokerage firm. You fill out the account documentation application, and then Once your account is open, you've got an account number assigned, and then you would just fund the account with the capital that you have in mind, and then we'll go from there as to when you're ready to start activating a system and going live. So anyway, great. All right. Well, I think we've had a good event here. I like doing the live presentations, and it's a chance for people to ask questions as well. But we're also available after we are finished here with the webinar. So let us know what we can do for you. We'd love to have you come on board if you think, and help you figure out if this is a good fit for you. And have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.